If you've ever looked at the world and just thought, wait a minute, that doesn't seem fair. You see good people just plagued by tragedy.
Or the opposite.
The opposite, exactly.
No.
The selfish and the ruthless, they succeed wildly.
Right. And you're grappling with one of the oldest spiritual questions there is. It's what pushes people towards cynicism.
Yeah.
I mean, the source we're looking at today says it perfectly. The religious person finds sorrow.
Right.
The diligent fail, while the fool gets rich and the sinner finds success. It's just so hard to maintain faith in any kind of cosmic order when what you see with your own eyes seems to, well, contradict the basic rules of justice.
It really is.
And that is exactly why we are doing a deep dive into Pandit Shriram Sharma Acharya's text, Pandane, which translates to something like the profound nature of the speed of karma.
And this isn't just philosophy. He really tries to present a psychological, almost scientific framework for how our actions, our karma, actually produce results. So our mission today is to get beyond that simple idea of, a God up there punishing and rewarding people.
Exactly. The source offers a pretty radical shift. It argues that the whole action and result mechanism isn't external at all. It's meticulously woven into our own internal consciousness. We have to understand the architecture of this inner accountant.
The inner accountant, I like that. Okay, so let's unpack that. I guess we have to start with the traditional figure, Chitragupta.
We do. In the Puranas, he's the celestial deity sitting in Yamaloka.
Just writing everything down.
Constantly. Every good deed, every bad deed of every single being forever. It's a powerful image, but...
Logically, it's a bit of a stretch.
A huge stretch, and the source starts right there. It asks the practical question, how could one entity possibly record the actions and, more importantly, the intentions of billions of creatures across eons? It just doesn't work.
So it's challenging that literal belief.
Yes, suggesting the whole image of Chitragupta is really an allegory for something deeper, something you could say scientific.
And this is where we get to the core insight, the thing that really changes everything. The text redefines Chitragupta. It's not a god. It's the inner consciousness.
The antititana.
The antititana.
Yeah.
The silent, completely unbiased accountant that exists inside every one of us.
And to make this easier to grasp, the author uses a fantastic analogy for his time, the gramophone record, a vinyl record.
Okay.
Think about it. It holds all this incredibly complex information, music, speech in these tiny physical grooves.
Right. An etching.
Exactly. The source says that every single conscious action, every thought, every feeling leaves a subtle, indelible impression, a rekha on our inner consciousness. It's like a stylus etching a groove onto that vinyl. You might forget what you did yesterday.
But the internal record is permanent.
It's permanently etched.
Wow. So the outer world judges the consequence of what's on the record, but the inner self is the record.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And that brings up this fascinating distinction the text makes between, our courts and this inner Chitragupta.
Yes, and this analogy is so critical for understanding why life can look so unfair. Imagine 3 people. All of them are responsible for a death.
Okay.
The first is a construction worker. A rock slips from his hand by pure accident, and it kills a passerby below. The court looks at it, sees there was no intent. Pure accident.
Who's acquitted?
He's acquitted. Now, the second guy is a farmer. He catches a thief stealing the crops that his family needs to survive, and in just a blind burst of rage, he kills the thief.
So the court sees the anger, sees the act.
And they give him 5 years. Manslaughter.
Okay. And the third?
The third is a notorious robber who deliberately, coldly kills a victim for money. The court sees premeditation. He's sentenced to hanging. 3 deaths, 3 totally different outcomes from the external justice system.
Right, because our courts are based on physical evidence, on consequence, on proof.
But the inner accountant, the antititana, it ignores the external result completely.
It only cares about the intention.
The intention, the icha, and the feeling, the pavana. That is all it weighs.
So that farmer who acted in a flash of rage, his inner tally might be worse than the professional robber.
It could be. If his hatred was just all-consuming in that moment, his inner karmic debt might be far higher than the robber who killed with, say, cold, professional detachment.
It completely flips everything on its head.
It does. A poor person who gives 2 pennies, but with this profound, pure compassion that's weighed equally to a billionaire who donates thousands for a tax break and a building with their name on it.
So external success can hide an internal bankruptcy.
And internal purity can exist alongside external struggle. And that reframes suffering entirely. It's not some random punishment from an angry God. It's just the
A
consequence.
self-correcting mechanism.
A necessary one, like fire refining gold. And the source breaks this pain, this duke, into three main categories.
The Trivita Dukes.
Yes, using the Panchatai framework. It helps us see where the pain is really coming from. Is it mental, is it physical, or is it external? It shifts the responsibility right back to us.
So the first one is Davik Duke. Now, Davik sounds like divine, but here it means something different.
It does. Here it's defined as internal or mental suffering. It's the immediate result of our own internal sins.
So we're talking about things like worry, chronic jealousy, intense anger, fear.
Sustained sorrow, all of it. These are the fruits of self-inflicted mental sins. And what's fascinating is the speed. If you hold on to this intense, selfish jealousy, you don't need God to punish you.
You're doing it to yourself
Yeah.
right now.
Immediately. The inner torment, the stress, the anxiety, and you are the full cause of that suffering.
Okay, that makes sense. Which then leads us to Dahik Duke, the physical stuff.
The physical ailments, disease, chronic pain, injuries, even some hereditary issues.
And these come from.
Bodily or physical sins, misuse of the body, neglect, harm committed against your own body or others. And because the body's processes are slower, the results often show up much later.
Later in life, or
Or if the impression is deep enough, the source says it can be carried by the subtle body into a future birth. It's the long-term cost of physical imbalance.
And then there's the third one, which is huge, Bautik Duke. This is the external environmental suffering, famine, epidemics, war.
Large-scale accidents, and this is profoundly important. The source says these calamities aren't from individual sins.
They're collective.
They're from collective social sins. Widespread weakness, greed, or selfishness across a whole community or society. It's this idea that we're all connected by a single thread. Your corruption doesn't just hurt you, it lowers the ethical water table for everyone.
So when a drought hits, or an epidemic,
Right.
it's a social warning. It's the bill coming due for widespread cowardice or ignorance.
Or collective moral failure, yes. It's a diagnostic tool meant to force a society to purify itself. It connects the micro level of your personal karma to the macro level of what the whole planet is experiencing.
Okay, so if suffering is the consequence, the next question has to be when? When does the bill come due? The source gets into this, right? It categorizes karma by the speed of the result.
It does, and these definitions really clarify why some things seem instant and other things seem completely random.
Let's start with the first one, kriyam and karma. Immediate action.
This one's pretty straightforward. These are physical acts with an almost instantaneous result. You swing a hammer, you hit your thumb, you feel immediate pain.
You work for 8 hours, you get paid at the end of the day.
Exactly. The result is swift, it's certain, and it happens within the time frame of that action, or at least that lifetime. It's the direct, measurable feedback loop.
Okay, simple enough. Then we have sanchit karma, the accumulated store.
Right. And this is this vast reservoir of subtle impressions from all your past deeds. Maybe from decades ago, maybe from thousands of years ago, from previous births. It's all stored deep in the subconscious.
And the key here is that these actions were, what? Less intense.
Exactly. They were typically done without a strong, determined emotional commitment, without powerful bhavana. So the impressions are weak. They're dormant.
So they're just sitting there.
Think of them like millions of seeds buried under frozen ground. They're not really affecting your daily life. They're just waiting for the right environment or a specific weakness in you to allow them to sprout. They are potential, but they aren't active destiny.
Which brings us to the real mystery. Prarabdha karma. This is what people mean when they talk about fate or destiny.
Takdir, yes, the random, unavoidable stuff that just seems to come out of nowhere.
And prarabdha is different because
It's driven by mental actions that were coupled with intense feeling and a really strong, determined mindset. The Meno Yoga.
so this is the opposite of sanchit. This is when the emotional energy was incredibly high.
Incredibly high. Whether it was intensely positive or intensely negative, the emotional charge was huge. Because of that, the result is certain and very, very strong. But, and this is the key, the timing is completely unpredictable.
It could take multiple lifetimes to ripen.
But when it manifests, it hits hard.
So if a person who has, lived a pretty good life suddenly faces an absolute catastrophe, a horrible accident, a huge financial loss, a sudden illness,
The source suggests that this is not random bad luck.
it's prarabdha.
It's the deep history of their most intensely charged inner intentions finally coming back to the surface. It is the consequence of a prarabdha seed that has finally, after all this time, sprouted.
So your fate isn't external at all. It's the inevitable result of your most emotionally committed history.
And the pain and suffering we talked about earlier, so often that's just the intense stream of this accumulated prarabdha karma coming up to be, well, neutralized and cleansed.
Okay, so moving from the mechanics of consequence, the source brings us to this ultimate point of personal power. We are the Swayamnirmata,
The architects of our own
the
worlds.
architects of our own worlds. It says the external world, which is just a combination of these three fundamental qualities, appears to us exactly as we choose to see it.
And we should probably touch on those three qualities, the gunas.
Right. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas.
Think of them as three different lenses you can look through. Sattva is the lens of purity, balance, illumination.
Rajas is more passion, action, ambition.
Right. And tamas is inertia, darkness, ignorance, decay.
And the world we see is just a constant mix of these three.
Exactly. And the philosopher's view here is that the outer world acts like a mirror. It just reflects our own dominant inner quality right back at us. If your consciousness is dominated by tamas.
You see negativity, malice, and struggle everywhere you look.
But if you cultivate sattva, you see opportunity and goodness even in the middle of a hardship. Your personal internal lens literally warps your external reality.
The text gives that example of the father, who's just convinced his teenage son is rebellious and defiant.
Yes, he's created that image.
So even when the son actually does what he's told, the father is so wrapped up in this idea of defiance that he interprets it as, I don't know, trickery or sarcasm.
And he creates all this unnecessary suffering for himself and for the relationship. The suffering comes from the ignorance, the aegean, not from the world itself being miserable. It's a mistake to see the world as an inherently painful place.
So the purpose of struggle, of dukh, isn't to torment us.
No, it's to strengthen and purify us, the Atma Unnati. It's there to help us eliminate our vices and foster virtue.
So struggle isn't something to be resisted, but something necessary for refining our own consciousness.
Absolutely. The source argues that when you take off that lens of illusion, that self-created perception, the world just reveals its true neutral nature, the pursuit of knowledge, the path of duty. That's what pulls us away from this idea that the world is primarily a place of sorrow.
So what does this all mean for you, for the listener, trying to navigate daily life? This deep dive really shows that the path of karma is, well, it's intensely meticulous and it's intensely personal.
It's governed by your internal intention, not your external results, and most of what feels like random bad luck.
The prarabdha.
It's simply the deeply ingrained, emotionally charged mental history finally coming to fruition.
So the source is urging us to just stop. Stop looking at the external world and asking why the sinner is succeeding or why the good person is suffering.
That whole observation has to turn inward. It should be entirely focused on purifying our own intention, our own Havana, in every single moment, in every single action. The true record that matters isn't the court document or the public award. It's the purity of the inner intention.
So if we accept the source's conclusion that the external world is a combination of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and that we are the architects of our own experience, then the most provocative question really remains, doesn't it? What world are you choosing to construct and inhabit right now, today, with the quality of your current thoughts and intentions? That is the speed of karma in action.